Okay. All right. Hi there. Um, I'm hoping everyone can hear me, and I'm hoping that I'm live in two places. Um, as if I couldn't complicate things enough, I decided to try something out where I am going live on Facebook and hopefully YouTube at the same time. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, hi. I'm Lisa Goss of Grand Story Ornaments, as you can see down here. Um, I'm not sure how this is all going to work, so please just be patient with me tonight. Um, I'm hoping this will all go well. So tonight I wanted to talk about our Jessie tree ornaments, which is kind of a foundational thing here. Um, it's how the whole business got started. So I'm going to do that. Um, I also had a request last week of painting live, which is really strange. I am like super nervous, and I don't know if that's because of the technology and going live on two channels at once, or whether it's just the painting live, which is kind of weird because once a month at least I paint with a group of other artists on a Zoom call, and I don't ever feel nervous about that. But I guess maybe because this is so public, maybe that's why I'm feeling nervous. So yeah, that's what's going on. Um, and I think now that we've had a few minutes and you can see who I am, I'm gonna get rid of this because it just seems weird to me. But anyway, okay, bye bye. So, um, Jessie tree ornaments. If you're not familiar with the Jessie tree, this is something that I know a friend of mine introduced me to. I don't even remember, a couple decades ago, at least. Um, she had participated in an ornament exchange party, which hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about on some later lives. That's a fun thing that I think is a good thing to do around the holidays. But anyway, this friend, um, she was doing a ornament exchange party, and it had this Jessie tree tradition. Um, it is 25 days um, from the 1st of December through Christmas, and it goes through uh, the Bible from Genesis, that goes through the biblical story from Genesis all the way to Jesus' birth. And uh, the idea is it is kind of like a family tree kind of deal. Um, Jesus' family tree, but it also weaves in uh, some of the stories from the Bible, and it depends because there's several variations out there. Um, I was always interested when I got this. My friend sent me a devotional in the book, and I was just so fascinated. I thought, oh, that would be so fun to come up with my own illustrations for this set, but I never got around to it. It just kind of got put on the back burner for a while. Fast forward to when I met uh, another friend here in El Paso by the name of Monica, and Monica and I got to talking, and she shared how she liked to do the Jessie tree. Um, but at the time, I think she had four, 4 or 5 under the age of 10. I don't know. She's up to 8 children now, which is they are such a blessing. That family is such a blessing. Um, but anyway, so she had a lot of really young kids, and the idea of sitting down and trying to do this family devotional with all this energy, she was trying to come up with something that was very simple, and she also had pulled from a number of um, Jesse Tree devotionals that were out there, and so she was looking to create her own set. So we collaborated, and the original set, um, we came up with that. I want to say I finally finished it 2020. It took a couple years because painting 25 illustrations at that time for me was quite an effort. But we did get it done. And it had a couple of ornaments that weren't necessarily in most of the traditions. So you have things like Rahab. That is one that is not. I don't think the Exile one, the Fiery Furnace Exile, I don't think I've seen that in a lot of them. But anyway, so 25 ornaments. My heart has been since then, since developing that original collection, is to offer more, because I loved it so much, and they've been so popular in the shop, that I wanted to do uh, more to try and fit in with the different devotions, because everybody has their own set. And again, like I say, some sets include, there's some standard ones that are included in pretty much every Jessie Tree tradition. Um, but I wanted to be able to expand the set. So I have been sitting on um, a few ornaments that I wanted to add to the set and just haven't got around to it. And this is the perfect time. I thought, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to take the plunge. And so I have a few I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. So if I didn't explain, the Jessie Tree, what the idea is that each night from December 1st through the 25th, you take out an ornament and you do a little devotional with the story, and then hang the ornament. You can hang it on a regular Christmas tree. Um, some people have a tree dedicated just to the Jessie Tree ornaments. We tried to come up with some tabletop ideas, so and to create just this kind of shortened version, so that like at the dinner table when everybody's kind of busy eating and you've got a captive audience, you could do it that way. So that's the idea, is each day you focus on one story, and you progress slowly from the stories in Genesis all the way through the Old Testament and into Matthew, into the nativity account. So that's the Jessie Tree. So let's go ahead and I will show you some of the ones that I have created for this year. So one of the ones that I wanted to create is the raven which you're like, what does the raven have to do with with Christmas? Well, this is supposed to represent Elijah. Um, I don't know if you're seeing that the right way or if it's backwards, but that's Elijah. And this is the format I finally came up with for the Jesse tree ornaments. Is and again, just to simplify, because we have a booklet to send with the complete set. But if you just want one ornament, or you're trying to sit down at the table and you don't have time for the booklet, well, this format I thought worked better. Is you have the symbol on one side and there's the reference on the back, so you can just easily look up that reference, read the Bible passage, discuss it, or just let it be just the Bible passage, and then you have the symbol. So this year, I don't have it up in the shop yet. This is going to go up shortly. We have the raven for Elijah. Okay. And in the original set, I know we came up with, let me see my thing here. In the original set for Mary, oops, I don't want to put in a protective case here. This is the original painting. This was the painting for Mary, and it had to do with the pierced heart prophecy. But I wanted to come up with some better representations of Mary. So this year I have two to go along with Mary. And one of them, let's see, is it going to focus? Come on, camera. Let's see. Come on, camera. Oh, it's not going to focus. I really need to figure out the camera focus. Okay. But if you can't see that, this is Mary, pregnant Mary. You may be wondering why Mary is painted in brown clothes instead of the traditional blue. And this represents something that I kind of had trouble with early on in doing ornaments. Is I had this kind of struggle between wanting to do something that was accurate to the Bible, but I didn't want to get like hyper historical kind of deal. So like in the instance of Mary, if you read through the accounts and really kind of dig in there, you'll find that Mary was actually poor. Mary and Joseph were poor. They weren't super rich. And back in those times, blue would have been a color very rich. You can look into the sacrifice that they brought after Jesus was born, that was required by law. They offered what was like the lowest amount that you could offer, like the cheapest, I guess, and it most inexpensive, because really the idea in the sacrificial system was that you offered the best that you could, and God was so gracious in setting out basically levels. I said if you're poor, then this is the most acceptable sacrifice, and then if you could afford a little better, here's the next one. If you can afford a little better, so Mary and Joseph actually offered what would have been the poorest. And if you study about the Magi or the wise men, they didn't come until later, even though we kind of mushed them all together at Christmas. Um, so, like the gold and the frankincense and all these rich things they would have had later didn't weren't available at the time Mary was pregnant with Jesus. So that's why. So there's things like that, and then um, there's a couple of others in the set like that where I kind of like Joseph's coat is another one where I didn't want to go with the really brightly colored rainbow kind of coat for Joseph's coat of many colors because that probably wouldn't have been the case back then. Like many colors, I looked at uh, things with the temple, and you had your scarlet, blue, purple, gold, and those were a lot of the colors that were used in uh, creating the tabernacle. I'm sorry, not the temple, the tabernacle. Um, and so when I created Joseph's coat, I went with those colors rather than this kind of cartoonish or something that it just didn't sit right. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of the processes behind the Jesse collection. And um, before I run out of time, because I see I'm about halfway over, I'm trying to keep these only to about half an hour so that y'all aren't like, ugh, when is when is she gonna stop talking? When is this over? Um, but before, I do want to show you one more Mary ornament because in a lot of the traditions, they represent Mary with the white lily. So I have a white lily. There we go. Now the camera's focusing. So that's a white lily to represent basically the purity of Mary, her humility when the angel announced that she was going to carry the Savior. So there are a couple. I didn't show the reference on back here. So this Mary one, Mary's Song of Praise, I went with that when she goes to visit her cousin Elizabeth. And this scripture reference is when Gabriel announces to Mary about the birth of Jesus. So, and I'm probably going to offer these along with the original heart ornament as a whole, as a set, just for people that if you would like to focus on Mary's story at Christmas time. Okay, so what I'm going to do tonight, I thought I'd share a little demonstration of painting, because all these ornaments start off as paintings, as illustrations, mostly as watercolor illustrations. Some of them I do digitally in Procreate. But tonight, I thought I would do David's harp. That is another one that in our original set, this is the original illustration for David, because Monica is my friend Monica is into essential oils. We wanted to kind of bring that out, the oils aspect, with the Jesse tree ornament. So I focused that illustration on David's anointing, but I'm going to do one with David's harp because we know that David was a psalmist, a singer, musician, in addition to being a shepherd and a warrior and. But tonight I just want to show you real quick so that you know that this really is me, and these are handmade. Not only the blanks, but also the illustrations. So you can see. So I'm gonna focus on my desk here if I can get the camera to focus. Okay. And previous to this, I have yeah, I actually have a drawing on here. I don't think you can see it because I do the drawing a lot of times and then I erase it so there's just very light lines so that they don't show up in the final painting. So we're just gonna get started in here. I like watercolor. Um, actually, I learned I started to learn watercolor when I was living in Pittsburgh, and I enjoyed learning about it back then. I've learned a lot more since then. But one of the reasons I actually love watercolor is because I get too impatient. I want to see things done like now. If I have an idea in my head, I don't want to wait around. Um, a lot of your oil painting, you have to kind of you kind of have to wait for things to dry. You have to have it set up for a long time. Um, Watercolor is great because you can reactivate it with water at any time. It doesn't, other paints when they dry out, you can't use them. Just, it doesn't work. So, I like watercolor. It's also great for travel. I don't, especially in the last year, I haven't had a chance to really sit at my desk much and paint. Not as much as I'd like to. Um, so I have this little travel set that I created inside of it's a Sephora makeup box, I think. Like, I think it was for makeup originally. But I butchered it and made it into a nice little triple kit because I have had to go to a lot of doctor appointments, both myself and my mom, who is a cancer patient. Um, so yeah, so I took my travel kit with me to kind of make the most of time, and watercolors are great for that. Um, yeah. All right. So now that we're getting I'm going to do a nice background to this. I love how that's the other thing I love about watercolor. It just kind of flows. So I'm just doing this. Uh, Here's another example of that kind of where I'm like, when you say harp, I know what comes to mind for me because I used to play in orchestras. I played the oboe. Um, what comes to mind is the big thing that you have to have a van or something to wheel it into a concert hall. And I wasn't sure that that really was the type of harp that David would have um, played, but I know that it's translated harp in the Bible. So um, I just did some quick studying, some quick research into uh, the, the Greek word, and it actually, the word can mean either harp or a lyre. which is this kind of thing I'm painting here. I decided to go with the wire because I figured David probably had this when he was in the field with his sheep. And so he would have had to have something portable. I can't imagine David. Could you imagine? I can't imagine David carting around the other kind of harp in the field while he was watching sheep. But yeah, so that's another example of I just wanted to check and make sure that I was kind of keeping to that accuracy without going too overboard. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like research mid-eastern harps or anything like that, or mid-eastern lyres, but I came up with this. And then the other thing that I used for inspiration, there's a I like these old tutorials. I found one on Pinterest that was how to do a whole bunch of well, it said freehand ornaments, but they're talking about like ornaments like what you draw, not ornaments like what you hang on a tree. And that's been a source of inspiration for me doing. They're like the fancy balls, the fancy balls, and the different kind of leafy Baroque style decorations. I probably should have done this background before. I hope you don't mind if we were a little over tonight. I just want to show you a little bit of my process here. I'm not going to finish the whole thing because that would take a while. But I will show you. I'm done with them. I definitely will show you. Let's see here. Okay. So there is our basic shape. Try and get some things. The only difficulty I have with watercolor, and that's from being in West Texas, is in other areas of the country, I'm sure that they don't have to worry about the paint drying so quickly. I do. It dries super fast around here for most of the year because we just don't have moisture. So, all right. Okay. So there's the basic shape that I'm going to draw, and this is the soundboard down here. I have a bunch of fancy decorations that I will. Okay, shut up my garbage can! Yay! So I have to let that dry before I paint on top of it. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know if you would like to see the rest of it next week, and I'll save it. I'll just save it and maybe paint some more next time so you can see how it goes. And yeah, I think, was there anything else I needed to, where are my notes? I'm trying to remember stuff. So I hope this went okay. When I get off here, I'm gonna check different streams and see if everything went well. And if you're on YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe if you would like to see more content, or if you would just like to see if this channel improves, because this is brand new. I'm just put myself out there. So I hope that you enjoy it. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. I'll be going on live every Tuesday, Lord willing, and creeks don't rise. Okay. So thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week. Bye.